So I'm gonna step out for a bit. So I'm gonna prep my skin while I share with you all these truths that a lot of people don't want to hear. Now, truth number one is that most men actually don't like women. They just like the idea of them. But I feel it's really important to talk about why some men don't like women. I feel like there's a few things that have happened over the past few decades. Number one, modern feminism. I truly believe that we now live in a time where truly men just don't know where they fit anymore. They're like, okay, if women are going to work and they're earning more than me and they're more educated, where do I fit in the world? I also feel that we a little bit overcorrected, okay? I do feel that it was very important for women to fight for their rights and to be seen as equal partners, but I really feel that we kind of left the men out in a lot of these conversations. And so what's happening is that they just simply don't understand what are the rules and engagements. Like, how do I approach women? Am I supposed to pay 50-50? Am I supposed to pay for the bills? Am I supposed to provide? I always tell women that I feel that women have evolved and men have not. And it's really just, I feel, an interesting space for them to be right now. And I also feel that they were not socialized in order to tap into that emotional side, in order to tap into being a caregiver. And a lot of them were just educated by their mothers that they're the ones who are supposed to lead the household, that they're supposed to be in charge. And they weren't fully prepared for a world where women are wearing the pants too. And I also feel that men see feminism as anti-men. And the truth is, there are some women who are like, I am anti-men, right? And there's this narrative. So again, a lot of men just don't feel comfortable with the modern woman and just how that shows up when it comes to dating and relationships. And finally, when we look at social media and how a lot of women are portrayed, a lot of times when I go to my husband's Instagram feed, and I don't watch everything he does, and maybe he is looking at some of these women, but his feed is like heavily skewed towards women with booty and tits and very curvaceous women and, women who are sexualized. And it's interesting because one day he told me that he told his friends about this, and he was saying like, Chica, I'm not even looking at this stuff. The funny thing is I'm next to him at night when he's scrolling through Instagram, and a lot of times he's laughing and it's at these skits. So I know that he's not spending his time looking at these women, but for whatever reason, a lot of times these algorithms are showing women being over-sexualized. I also feel that a lot of times men are just socialized to like, you look good, you smell good. That's all I need you for, right? I need you as a wife. I need you to cook. I need you to clean. Anything else, that's not what I'm looking for. Now, of course, not all men fit into this category, but I do feel that social media has not helped this narrative. Now, the second harsh truth I feel that most men don't understand when it comes to women is that women typically do not leave because of some big fight or some big betrayal or something crazy that happened. A lot of times it's the small little things, the constant dismissing of feelings, and constantly just feeling like I'm never heard. This man is not looking for me. He doesn't care for me. And it's happening over years of time. And when I reflect on one of my main relationships, my big love story, I feel like that's what happened to me. It wasn't any big fight. And mind you, we were together for 5 years. It was just constantly feeling like I was never heard. I actually feel that this man wanted to shrink me. He wanted me to feel small. And I'll just never forget that there was a day, it was actually the smallest thing that made me leave. It wasn't like some big fight that we had. He traveled to Puerto Rico with his guys. And I just remember like he traveled, I didn't hear from him. And then like a day later, he hits me up like, oh yeah, I'm in Puerto Rico. And I'm like, is that how we're doing things now? Like, we've been together for years. Why didn't you communicate with me that you're on the plane, that you made it safely, that you're in your hotel? And I honestly just remember at that point, I was like, I'm done. I'm done with you. And I feel like that moment was just buildup of years of feeling like that. And I was right. I moved on. And interestingly enough, when I got married, me and my ex actually met up and he just wanted to talk through some other things. And I just felt the same thing. Like, as soon as I started sitting down with him, I felt like I was transported to that time. And I was like, wow, like he hasn't really changed. I think he needs more therapy. He needs some work. So the truth is that most of the time when women are fed up, we're fed up. But best believe we have receipts for days, and it's never just one singular event. Now, number 3 is that your ambition does not make you special. Your grind, your hustling, we respect it. We get it. I feel that personally, men should be providers. And I do feel that it's important that a man is out there doing his thing. But a lot of times, Men don't understand that that's only part of the game. I need you to be tapped in. And personally for me, when I was dating, I wanted to pay attention. How do you treat other people? Because how you treat other people is how you're gonna eventually treat me. Now, quick story time. There was a dude I dated right before my husband, and I remember distinctly how whenever we were out to dinner, he was extremely rude to staff, like extremely rude. And I just remember like even at one point cringing and being like, hey, like, you can't talk to people like that. And at the time, because he never treated me like that, you know, I didn't think much of it, but I just remember being like, I hate the way he talks to other people. And there was a day, the tables turned, and all of a sudden, he went crazy on me. Basically, for the next 2 months, he treated me like crap. And I just remember after breaking up with him, telling myself, Chica, you'll never be in that situation again. When a man treats other people like that, you need to believe him the first time. And when I started to dive deeper into what did I miss with this guy, he had issues with his mother, he had issues with family, all those things bubbled up to how he treated other people and eventually treated me a certain way. So if you see a man treat other people rude, and if you're a man watching this and you're treating people funky, it's gonna eventually transfer to the woman, and we gotta stop that dead in its tracks. Now, this is harsh truth number 4, and I feel like this is so important. Being emotionally unavailable is not attractive. There's nothing attractive about it. It doesn't make you mysterious. It doesn't make me want you more. If anything, I'm trying to understand why we can't have an emotional connection. And the truth is, as a married woman, I know if my husband was not tapped in emotionally with himself and with me, it would be dead on arrival. And we need to be honest, right? If you are with a confident woman, she's not gonna wait around for you to heal that heartbreak. She's not gonna wait around for you to eventually open up yourself. She's just gonna be like, I just don't have time for this. And I feel like emotionally unavailable men, a lot of times there's some deep trauma that's happened. Maybe it's a relationship, maybe it's something that happened in their childhood. It comes in many different forms. And a lot of times a man has not gone to therapy, he hasn't gone to coaching. And because men are not socialized, like I said earlier, to tap into their feelings, they don't even know where to begin. So one of the things that I have been telling women is that when you connect with a man, especially a Black man, if you're watching this video, you need to ask him, has he done therapy? It's a requirement. It's not like oh, we can negotiate. I think it's a requirement because a lot of these men are carrying around trauma that they don't even know how to unpack. And a lot of times they're carrying that trauma in their bodies as well. And there's this book that I love called The Body Holds the Score. And it talks deeply about how even when you think you've forgotten it, you moved on, how it's trapped into your body and how it manifests. So if you have a man and you're worried about him not being emotionally unavailable, you feel like he's not vulnerable enough with you, which I think is also key when it comes to a long-lasting relationship, he needs to go to therapy, he needs to go to coaching, and he needs to find a way to unpack all these feelings. And I think the other reason why this is so important is because he needs to be able to find ways to hold space for your own feelings. And if he's unable to do that and regulate emotions, especially, you know, as women, we have a cycle. Sometimes we're up, sometimes we're down. I know for me, 4 or 5 days before my period, I'm probably prone to fight husband because my whole world's all over the place. And I feel like because a lot of times he can hold space for me and he knows how to go up the roller coaster with me, it works. But can you imagine being with a man that you're all over the place hormonally and then he doesn't know how to tap in, he doesn't know how to hold space, and he doesn't know how to calm you down? You're asking for disaster. So it's so key that you're with a man who's emotionally available, and he has to understand that it's okay to get therapy and it's okay to tap into your feelings. It's probably one of the sexiest things about men. Now, hard truth number 5, and I know this is controversial, right? Which is her independence is not intimidating. You're just insecure. I know you hate to hear that. The truth is, what did Beyonce say? All my ladies, independent. Like, she ushered that in, okay? Most women who are in the dating stage right now grew up with that song. They love that song. It's a bop, and a lot of women are independent. And, you know, of course, as a Black woman, you know, I know specifically the issues we face. And the truth is, a lot of us grew up with independent mothers. That's all we saw. That's all we witnessed. So it's natural for you to be dating an independent woman who has her own money. A lot of us are overeducated. Not only do we have a 9-to-5, but we're working to a side hustle. We're investing. We're doing so many things. Do you know how many women I know that bought their own house? Okay? I feel like a lot of men are threatened by independence, and they're threatened by how women can convey the room and be powerful. Now, of course, there's a caveat. There are some women who are independent and a little too masculine. And I have lots of videos that speak about how to balance the feminine and masculine. But I'm simply just talking about men who are insecure. Another story from my ex-boyfriend, right? Interestingly enough, I've always been one of those women that wanted to own my own business. I've always been entrepreneurial. And we were at a business school and they invited me to a event. And I remember telling him, hey, you should come to the event. I think it would be a good networking opportunity. Do you know how quick this man shut me down? And basically was like, I am not interested in anything like that with you because
I don't want any confusion between me and you.
And I was just like, what are you talking about? Like, what does my presence have to do with how you're gonna shine? And I thought it was just very interesting that he immediately had an issue with it. And I realized like, oh, like who I am as a person, my power is intimidating to you. And at the time I was 20s, right? I was young. So I didn't realize he was insecure. But ladies, you gotta check that at the door, right? Men who are insecure, again, they need therapy, they need coaching, and it's not your job to baby them. And the truth is, women who are independent, that are doing their thing, all they want is a partner. They want someone who is emotionally secure. They want someone who is going to, be there for them and just be able to hold them in, because women who are independent, we got feelings, okay? And we don't need a man who is making us doubt ourselves and doubting who we are as women. Now, this point might be one of the most important points of everything I'm saying here today, which is that women, we crave safety, not submission. Here is the trick for any man who's watching this video, right? When you make a woman feel safe in your arms, like truly, truly safe, the interesting thing is she's gonna submit to you because she trusts that you are going to lead her into the right direction. Like she genuinely trusts that. And I feel like so many men are trying to bully women into submission. And it's this huge conversation around women need to submit to me. And what they don't understand that the actual formula to get a woman to literally fall in your arms like butter is safety, right? When a woman feels emotionally safe, physically safe, spiritually safe, and she's like, this man got me, everything's gonna move, right? And she's truly gonna feel like she can trust you. And she's like, you know what, this man is gonna take me to the promised land. This is something that me and my husband have been working on, and I feel like he's 90% there, right? There's still some things we got to work on, right? But he's there. And I feel like what the transformation was for us was him really just being honest with who he was, his struggles. And I kind of felt like, okay, this man is letting me in, he's letting me in. He's letting me understand him truly. And I personally feel that when men do that, that is when everything changes. I think so many men are trying to hide themselves under the guise of they're masculine, they're macho, they have everything together. And the truth is, women don't want that. Women want men who are just being truthful and being honest about who they are and how they are showing up. And the last thing I'll say on this point is that women just want to be poured into. Okay? Women want to feel like you are there at all times. And I truly feel that when men do that, she's going to open up to you like a flower. Truth number 7 is love is not enough. And this was advice that I actually got from a friend who was formerly divorced. She's now happily married. And she told me that the biggest mistake she made in her first marriage was she just thought, oh, we love each other and that's all we need. And she really told me that the truth is, it's all about compatibility and values. And if your values are not aligned, then there's nothing really to discuss. And I know for me, when I was reflecting on moving forward with my now husband, a lot of the conversations we had was around values, right? Like, what do we value in life, And even down to the point of, I asked him what his number one value was. And interestingly enough, it was freedom. And that was the same thing for me, right? I wanted to live a life where I could live wherever I want. I can move wherever I want. I wanted a life of travel. My biggest issue with my ex before my husband was he hated traveling and he tried to slow me down with traveling. That was a no. And I think a lot of times men just try to love bomb you and make you feel like this magic. And they don't understand that, okay, that's cute for maybe 5 minutes. And then when you enter the marriage, you realize What really matters is the friendship, the compatibility, the alignment, and most interestingly, the timing. Because if both of you are not at the same place spiritually and just in the mindset of where you want to go in life, it's not going to work. Now I'm doing the lightest beat of all time because I don't really feel like putting on heavy makeup. So I'm just keeping it light with concealer, my Danessa Myricks blush, because sometimes a girl just wants to have that no makeup look. Now ladies, when you ask yourself about the man that's for you, I really feel like you need to tap into a lot of these hard truths. I think there's a couple of resources that can help you quickly identify the right men for you. So I know this looks crazy, but it all pulls together at the end. Trust me. Now, I think number one is there's a book called The Way to Superior Man, and I urge every man to read that book. And I also encourage women to read that book too, because it really just teaches you a lot about how a masculine man needs to show up, especially in this modern age. Because again, women have evolved so much, and I feel like if men really understand, okay, what does it look like to be masculine now in this current age, I think things are gonna really appear differently. And I just think that women are gonna be able to approach men in a different manner. Honestly, a lot of women and men, I feel like we need to show more grace towards each other, because I'm telling you, I have coached hundreds of women, and because I run a dating club, I have the privilege of talking to a lot of these men, and you'll be shocked actually how these men just feel so displaced. They just feel like they don't know how to approach women anymore. I feel like also the Me Too movement, while it was very necessary because men were out of pocket, okay, with the Harry Weinsteins of the world, but regardless, it kind of left a lot of men who don't move that way in this weird limbo where they're just even like, oh, I'm at the club, should I approach this woman, or what should I do? How should I move? I don't think women should have patience for nonsense, but I do feel like we should have a lot more patience just in regards to how we listen to men more, and just be understanding that a lot of men are just trying to understand, how do I show up in this new dating world? So this video is actually coming from my threads that went viral, and I also put this on Instagram, and I decided to do a longer video because the men were fighting in my comment section. And what's crazy was a lot of the comments were like,
oh, you're bald and you're single and you're miserable.
And I was like, well, number one, I'm married. So not really sure what that's about. But number two, I feel like a lot of men feel triggered by this conversation. And this is a real conversation. This is an honest conversation. The truth is, a lot of men are moving around with lack of emotional intelligence, and a lot of men just don't really understand how to connect with the modern woman. So I was like, no, we gotta have this conversation. I'm gonna end with my famous red lip. As always, this is a lip liner that I've been loving lately from Juvia's Place. It's actually called Chocolate because I always kind of line with the brown just to give that effect. I feel like one of the other things that we need to talk about is that there needs to be, I believe, a change in how men and women connect with each other. I know that more and more of us are finding each other online, but I honestly don't know if that's the solution, simply because a lot of times when you meet a man on a dating app, the conversation is quite surface level and you don't get to the meat of the values and connection quick enough. And a lot of times with the swiping culture, what's happening, especially I'm seeing this in real time with my dating club, is that men are just literally looking at a bunch of women, profiling them based off of their looks. Like, okay, does she have a big bum? Does she have nice breast? How does she look like? I don't know if I'm gonna use this red or the other red. Let's see. But I just feel like, I think I'm gonna use this one. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna use, what's this one? Russian red. I think I'm gonna go with Russian red. But I feel like Hinge is not the answer. And I think we need to go back outside, okay? And I feel like we need to start to connect with men in person again. And I feel like we need to start asking the real, honest questions from the beginning. And that's the reason why I did like the show Love is Blind, but then obviously they don't do enough vetting. But I do feel like we need to step away from the superficial stuff, because At the end of the day, when you get married, none of that matters. The only thing that matters is if we're compatible and if there's a friendship and if there's a foundation. I feel like the swipe culture, the social media culture, all those things make dating way more complicated these days. I'm liking this light beat, okay? I look cute. Anyways, men, if this video hit a nerve, then you need to have some time to think and reflect on how you're showing up when you are connected with women or in your relationships. And women, if you are loving this video, please share and like and subscribe to my channel because more of this type of content is coming. And I want you to remember that relationships is not about settling, it's about growing together. See you in my next video.